Scotland as a nation proudly stand. We will march beneath our banners to protect our ancient land. In the glens and cities, there on every street, are the living heroes no army will defeat. Let our flag mean freedom and not a battle drum. To the world we bid a welcome in 1,000 different ways. We will toast to long lost friendships as we build our better days. In the glens and cities, there on every street, are the living heroes no army will defeat. Let our flag mean freedom and not a battle drum. We are all the heroes of Scotland. We're a nation hand in hand. We will march beneath her banners to protect our ancient land. In the glens and cities, there on every street, are the living heroes no army will defeat. Let our flag mean freedom and not a battle drum.
With the world in...
Good evening, folks. I hope you're all doing well. Nice to see you, PBC, Budgie, and Toffee. I'm kind of out of breath. I was rushing about there at the last minute. My toilet looked as though it was blocked, so I was given the old plunger treatment. Pardon me, so I hope that's sorted it out. So, before I go any further, there will be no live stream on Friday. There'll be no movie review. There will be no live stream on Friday. Okay. Laura's funeral is on Thursday afternoon, and I'd rather give myself some quiet, reflective time rather than, not that the live streaming is arduous or anything. It's not. It's just, yes, that's it. That's exactly it, PBC. I need a bit of peace. And thank you very much for the card. Very thoughtful and kind of you. Pass on my thanks to DJ as well. was very, very thoughtful. That's it. Time for contemplation. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Uh, and you never fail to lift my emotions up. With your offering your condolences and being very, very considerate towards me and the family. Yeah, it arrived the other day. In fact, what's the day is this? This is Tuesday, isn't it? Yeah, it arrived yesterday. Completely unexpected, of course, but very thoughtful and kind. So again, thank you. And thanks to all of you, in fact, for your kindnesses. Well, it arrived safely, and I can assure you that. Uh, so at least she's out of her pain. And on that last couple of days, she was in pain. Yeah, just as well. BBC, just as well. Hello there, Treble M, Andrill. So I'm just saying, folks, as another reminder, that I will not be live streaming on Friday. So there will be no movie review on Friday. So I'm hoping the following week, though, I will have two great guests on. I've only got one confirmation at the present time. I'm waiting on the second confirmation. And that should be really good. Rill, what's happening? Well, what's happening, Rill, is you know, of course, that my Laura passed away, and the funeral is on Thursday afternoon. So I've decided to take a break from streaming, and as Toffee is saying, I wrote an email to Sensum and William and Eki to discover that Sensum is not available the following week. I was hoping to push the movie review from Friday of this week to Friday of next week, but he's not available. So we'll have to leave it a wee bit longer before we get to do that. But the movie's set, so if you want to go and watch the film, it's a documentary. There's plenty of time to go and watch it. And this is, well, see, that ties up with what Toffee's saying. When I sent my email to Sensum, he wrote back and said that he couldn't make the following week. because of commitments, family commitments. So the only thing that's changed as far as you, the audience, are I'll get to that in a minute, Toffee. He's in Thailand, says William. So anyway, I won't be on Friday evening, okay? When the movie review will take place is yet to be sorted out, so let us not worry. Let us not worry about when that'll take place. It just won't be any streaming on Friday night, okay? Next week, that's a week today, I should be back. As I say, I'm hoping to have 2 guests. I have one confirmed and one I'm still waiting on a confirmation from. Now, to answer what Toffee's asking, who are you going to the funeral with, John? Do you have a lift and whatnot? Well, what's happening is Laura lives in Port Glasgow, which is miles from where I live. So the plan is that I will get a taxi cab to Laura's house, and the limousine, the funeral limousine, will pick all of us up from that address. Oh, thank you very much, PVC. I hope that suits that arrangement, PVC. What was I saying? Yeah, so the limousine will leave from Laura's house, and that'll take, these limousines seat 7 apparently, so we'll all be in the one limousine, and we'll come to Greenock and meet up with the what do you call it, hearse. And then from there, from the hearse, from the undertakers to the crematorium. And then from the crematorium, we'll be going to the Tontine Hotel for the traditional funeral breakfast afterwards. But as I am not getting all the sleep that I usually get, I know I'm going to be pretty washed out by the time Friday comes. And I thought, consider my health at the moment, it would be wiser if I don't make an appearance on Friday. And I don't really want to do the movie review without Censor being there. And if you've not seen this film, I would say try it out and see how you get on with it. Well, it looks as though I've got my 2 guests. No, PBC, it is not a funeral, it is a cremation. And the reason for that is if you remember, I showed you and DJ the central cemetery when you were here visiting me. Now, as vast as it is, they are not letting anyone buy new plots. This is deliberate, right? This is local council. And they're not letting people buy new plots. They're forcing people into the second cemetery that they have opened up a few years back, which is away up the hill and out of the way. And if you don't have a car, you can't get there, which is completely unacceptable as far as I'm concerned, but there's nothing I can do about it. So, over the years, Laura and I, mainly just the two of us, concocted the best answer to suit her. And the best answer to suit Laura was be cremated, put her ashes in a little box, and the family and myself would quietly, secretly bury her inside her sister's grave. And when I say it that way, because if you involve undertakers to do that, if you don't know, it is incredibly expensive. It's just a racket, folks. It's somewhere in the region of £400 to £500 to create a very small hole to put a small wooden casket inside. And so over the years, we concocted this idea, and that's the plan. That's why she's being cremated, because we can't buy a plot in the Greenock Cemetery, and PBC knows exactly where that cemetery is, and it's in the centre of the town. But they won't let people buy plots in it, and there are plenty of areas left that could be used. So it's a political thing. As far as I'm concerned, it's politics. So that's why it's not a burial. It's better without saying something. Toffee, what's this you're saying? Fairway, Greenock to Glasgow, 30 odd miles, yeah. Same as Liverpool to Manchester. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying to you. They're not going to get doing that, Treble M. If the cemetery does the burial of ashes, says Treble M, you will get paperwork. Exactly, you're quite correct. But we're not going to do that. We are simply going to take charge of the casket when it's ready. Oh, you were down my way, were you? Should have popped in. I'd lately be at home. Should pop in anytime you're down this way, BBC. If you're up for a cup of tea or whatever, or just a blether, if you want, just chap the door. Just give me time to get down the stairs. So that's why we're doing it this way. Because if we involve any of these bureaucracies, including the undertaker, it's going to cost hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds. And Laura was totally against that, as I am. I think it's outrageous. So we will do it surreptitiously. And it's been done before. My cousin was, that's what was happening to my cousin because of the cost. It's just outrageous. Just outrageous. Rill saying, Mrs. and I have been talking about this for a while. Told her I want a crypt with big marble angels on horses either side of the entrance, making light of the conversation. I like it, though. Sounds good, eh? Very good topic. That's life as we know it, but not as we know it. Going to get your ashes shot onto the moon when you die in a fake video. Yeah, that'd be a good idea for you, William, eh? Well, again, I don't think her son and daughter are too concerned about that aspect of it, Trevor. I don't know yet. We need to, because the stone has got a lot of information on it, and it's not a terribly big stone. Well, take it as an open invitation, PVC. If you're ever down this way and you want to drop in, please don't hesitate. Drop in. Whether you've got your family with you or not, love to meet them. Of course they do, Ro. They do prey on your grief. And I told you, well, maybe you weren't here when I've said it, but it was one of the policies that I stood on when I was standing for the local elections. The fact that the council invented a tax, and the tax that they invented was that if you've got a grave like I have, okay, and my son's going to run up against this, and when I die and I go in beside my father, which I will be going, and he gets the stonemason to put my name up there below my father's name, there's a tax on that. He has to pay the stonemason. Fine, that's a legitimate job that stonemason is going to do. But on top of that, there's a tax. At the moment, I'm told is £120. It started at 30. It's now up to 120, and perhaps by the time I die, who knows, it will be more than that. And how they collect it is even more insidious, because they use the stonemason to collect this tax. Because if he doesn't collect it, they won't give him his license for operating in the local cemeteries. and therefore put them out of business, or help to put them out of business. And that's how I found this out, simply because a good number of years ago, my mother got it into her head that she wanted to change the headstone on my dad's grave. It had been up there for about 35 years because he died so long ago, and this headstone had been up there for all those years, and she got this idea in her head that she wanted a new stone. And we sat and we talked about it and came to the agreement that we'd get a bigger stone that would take 3 names, one for my dad's name, obviously, then one for me and one for my son, so that if things went that way, there would be enough room on the same stone for Samuel and I, saving some money, making it easier for anyone who decides to visit, should anyone want to. And that's when we found out, when I went to the stone mason to pick a new stone big enough, he told us that the council had invented this new tax. And when I looked into it, yeah, it's all over Scotland. They invented a new tax. Now, it might be the same in England, I don't know. I wouldn't be at all surprised. And that's where we were trying to avoid paying this extra money, because nobody knows about this. This is why, Rill's comment is so true. You only find that out when you're grieving, when you go to see the stonemason, if that's what you're going to do. And suddenly you're presented with this extra tax. And we all know that under those circumstances, you're not in any fit state of mind to complain and do anything about it. And they know that as well. That's why it's done this way. It's hideous. It's grotesque what they've done. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. My uncle interred his brother's ashes in the grave with his mum and dad. No one knew. Well, there you go, you see. People do it. They do it all the time, because why should you pay this extra tax? And that's all it is. It's just just as well I reluctantly don't swear on a public platform like this, or I'd be cursing and swearing because I get so angry about it. And I made it a policy. And any time I was out speaking to people, I would bring this up. And of course, no one knew. And I always promised that if I got elected, I would do my damnedest to have it revoked, because it's outrageous. Outrageous. We cremated my dad, says Rill, and we're lucky they live near a church, so managed to get him in there. My mum will go there too. Horrible thing to have to deal with. Of course it is. It's bad enough without exploitation on top of it. Well, I think we can have a look at that after we get past Thursday. And there's no hurry to do that, of course. I haven't seen the video, Toffee. He's asking anybody see this. They're building a mosque in an old church. Did you see the video, Toffee? I had it here. I showed it. I could show it again. The bus in Liverpool, where three um, foreigners were attacking the bus driver. The bus was filled with women and children and some men. And the men, of course, on the bus. What did they do? They did nothing. The driver was on his own trying to push these three thugs, these animals, off the bus. He managed it. He successfully got rid of them. But it was disgusting the fact that the other men on the bus never helped them, never got up. The women were up shouting and screaming, of course. And the guys, nah. Terrible. I'm going to protest on Thursday on the toppling of headstones. Where is that, BBC? That isn't Paisley, is it? Or is it? Oh, to the council, right. That's right. This is what I'm talking about, BBC. They want if you change the anything on the stone, or you change the stone itself, plus changes on the writing, on the inscription, you've got to pay this tax. I call it a tax because that's what it is. Oh, 250 Renfrewshire. £250, folks. Think about it. And just think about it. The plot is yours because you had to buy it. So the plot, that little bit of land belongs to you or the person. It belongs to someone in the family because someone's name in the family is on the title deeds. You have to buy the stone, which is also owned by someone in the family. You pay the stonemason to put an inscription on there for you. You have to pay him. So, if you look at it from this point of view, it's not a nice way to look at it. This property belongs to someone in the family. You're forced to buy it. It belongs to you. The stone you've got to buy belongs to you. So what right did they have to come along and add a tax onto it? Well, they don't have any kind of right. It should be resisted, but as I said, no one knows. This is something they bury away from public knowledge, and you only find out when you're grieving, when you're dealing with a grave. It just happened in our case, my case. We weren't grieving because my mother just took this into her head. But the grave had been there, as I said, since 1956. My father died, right? So she just took this because it'd been there so long. So we weren't in that state of mind. So I was in a better state of mind to challenge the whole idea of it. But my mother being my mother, she just said drop it. Yeah, it's typical of my mother. And that's exactly it. Horrible scumbags. I mean, you could use worse language than that to describe them. They're not worth a damn. I was when DJ and PBC came to see me, and I took them up to the cemetery because of the party remembers the civilians who died during the Blitz, and I was showing them where it is and explaining to them that this cemetery of ours at one time had 129 separate varieties of trees that were brought from all different parts of the world to be planted in the cemetery to make it a place worth visiting. And it was. And over the years, since 70s, let's say, it's been slowly destroyed. The paths have all been closed in, so it becomes easier for grass cutting. The original stone, a huge arch of a stone that had all the names of the people who had died in the Blitz, was removed. And I don't know where it is. It isn't where they say it is. It's not there. So I don't know where it is. And they had no right to do that because there are people in there, hundreds of people in that communal burial place. One was my great aunt. And they just took it upon themselves to remove this stone, which came out of public money, of course, in the first place. And this is the kind of decisions they make without any consultation to anyone. Just drives me crazy. It really does. I get upset by that sort of stuff. Said Neil, disgusting beings. Thanks for coming back. Yeah, you're quite right, of course. As you heard, I go on a bit of a rant about things like that because it does upset me. "1,200 graves toppled in my dad's cemetery by the council." That's outrageous. 2,500 across Renfrewshire. That's sheer vandalism. These stones don't belong to them. They belong to the individual families. It's outrageous. It should be an outcry. Oh, there's Steve. Hello there, Steve. How you doing? I hope you're feeling all right. The Christian tax. Well, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah. For a stone toffee. Oh, geez. Hundreds of pounds. Depends on the size and quality, of course. It was my mother and myself and my Auntie Mary that we went three-way split on the cost because it was going to be a little bit larger than your normal. So because it was going to accommodate 2 other people. So we bought a much taller one so it can do that. But you're talking hundreds of pounds. You don't have to do. I mean, there's no. It's not compulsory to put up a stone on a grave, of course. But the thing about not putting up a stone is the obvious that over a period of time, people forget who's in the grave. And to find that out, you have to then pay money, go to the council, pay money to see the records, to find out who's in the grave itself. That's part of the reason why you have the name on the stone. Plus tradition, of course. Well, you could call it that as well. PVC, that's without a doubt. You could call it that. And I worry about that as well, what Treble M's talking about. The behaviour of the invaders, what's going to happen in the not so distant future with a cemetery the size of the Greenock one, for example. That's going to happen there. Good evening, Steve. Because their attitude and tradition is very different from ours. Well, there's a coast there. That's a hell of a coast. £8,000. Treble M saying 15 grand. A lot of money. Well, when we were changing my father's stone, I wanted the stone mason to put my name up on the stone and leave it blank, John Davidson, date of birth, and leave date of death blank. Oh, my mother went bananas about it. She went really totally unacceptable. She said I was tempting fate. But I'm doing that. I'm waiting, of course, until Laura's funeral's over with. And then I'm going to buy my funeral, pick my own coffin and all that. The only thing you can't buy in advance is the catering. but I'll buy the rest of it because I say we've got the grave, we've got the stone. If I buy the rest of it, then there's very little for my son to pay. You've had a rough day, Roll. What's been going on? Bad news. You need to explain that one. Daughter just went to have the baby sexed this afternoon, and it was dead. Died a week ago. You talking about a human baby? A little baby? Could you clarify that, Raoul, please? Triple M's advising you to leave it until you're old. That's awful. That's really, really awful, Raoul. I'm sorry to hear this. It's dreadful. I mean, that's just dreadful. No, I'll add to it if you want. BBC is saying I met a man on Father's Day who's leading a campaign against the headstone destruction and poorly run cemetery works in Paisley. Council banned him from emailing them anymore. Yeah? How'd they do that? Wonder, eh? Well, good on them, because I would certainly support this. This is this is just beyond belief, folks. I mean, this you might think this is just morbid, but it's not. There's a huge principle here at work. How dare they do things like this? No, you saw the one I'm talking about then, Toffee. Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear that, Will. I mean, that's just dreadful. It really is. All right, so you're going to be demonstrating outside HQ, are you? All right, I'm with you now. I got a phone call. I wasn't feeling all that grand this morning. So I was in bed till about 1 o'clock today. Well, I got a phone call from my neighbour down the stair to tell me his son had passed away this morning at 5:30. And he was apologising for the noise of his son screaming in pain. We never heard a thing up here. So that's a couple down the stair have lost their only child. It was £800. Then they started toppling headstones, and now you have to pay to have it reseated as well as pay the mason. It's bloody outrageous. I mean, it's scandalous. These people need horsewhipped. So now it's 250 to the council. Nice wee earner, yeah? Plus the mason's charge. No, masons are not cheap, real. They cost a fortune too. It's just dreadful. It's awful. Now that's so true, Margaret. That is absolutely so true. I mean, I'm old enough to remember a time, if in Scotland anyway, it was not ever like this in England, but in Scotland, there was a time that if you died, say on a Sunday or a Monday, you could be buried, and I mean buried, by the Friday. That's the way it used to be up here. Not any longer. Not any longer. And the cost is just, it's not anywhere as bad as London, of course, but it's bad enough. And that's it in a nutshell. You've got it in a nutshell. No respect for the living or the dead. I mean, again, this is just, it's sickening. It's just unbelievably sickening. And increase inheritance taxes. Well, that's very true, Trevor. We are being priced out of everything. The whole idea, of course, is to grind everyone down as far as we can. This is all what went on in the Soviet Union. If you've never really looked at it closely, and I know you will have, Trevor M. Now, this is the kind of oppression you get when you get communism, which we have got, by another name, of course. That's it, Budgie. Oh, that is it. Oh, there's a good friend of mine there. Scots Armour. Good evening, sir. It's not exactly a cheery subject tonight, I'm afraid. My 3 grandchildren, says Rill. Would have been. Well, the only reason, and of course, my mother, she was buried in with her second husband. So my father's grave has been lying undisturbed for, I think, what age am I? Right. Well, his grave has been undisturbed for over 70 years. Yeah. Pass on our regards. Yeah, it is so sad. But when we say that, it's from our point of view, you know. If you think about it, that my neighbour, his son, he must have been in absolute indescribable torture to be crying out that way, that my neighbours were worried that they would disturb us. But I'm in a building that was built. I'm in a building that was put up 130 years ago. I mean, it's really thick walls and ceilings, so we never heard the word. And even if we had, it wouldn't have mattered. If that young man needed to cry out like that, so be it. It's just horrific. Well, I just received a confirmation to change the subject a little bit here. Um, so that's good news. Okay, good news then for a week today. My second guest has confirmed, and my second guest is PBC. So a week today, my sister Alison will come on the live stream and speak on the first part. And the way I want to do it, why I want to do it this way is so that it becomes very clear what she's talking about. She's going to talk about all the things that go on in Inverclyde that don't go on anywhere else. And it's that bothers me. And it's that should go on everywhere else, but doesn't. So I want her to come on, talk about that, so that you all have a clear idea. And then PBC is going to come on, and we can then widen out the conversation so that you will be thinking about other aspects that I won't be thinking about, nor Alison. So I think that'll be a really good live stream. So I'm hoping that we have a good audience size for it. So that's good news. So it's not all doom and gloom, folks. Well, that's it, Steve. This boy was, I'm calling him a boy. To me, he is a boy. But he's a full grown man, you know. He's the same age as my own son, the same age as Laura's son. And that's him gone. I mean, in a real short space of time from first diagnosis of cancer until today. It seems as though it was all through his body. He had no chance to fight against it. And that's them childless now. And I think of the kind of things that they talk about when they first arrived here, their hopes and dreams for the future. And all of them, all of their hopes and dreams were scuppered with one thing and then another thing. Finally, they suffer something that we can only imagine. They suffer the loss of a child, and in their case, an only child. I can't get over it. I mean, it's staggering me. It's awful. It's just bloody awful. I can't get it out of my mind. So what you're saying, PVC? He was running the local cleanup at the cemetery, so I was contacting about the mess, etc. 57 times in a year as you head a group as not excessive, in my opinion. Well, you understand this, Trevelyan. I think that's a very good word to describe these people. Evil. See, I can't get over it. We'll need to have you back on soon. Scott's armour. Oh, there's Knobhead 1. I'm not familiar with the name Gareth Southgate. What's he done? Says Roll. Our Treble M seems to know who you're talking about. I'm bigger, no. Major sausage. Oh, there's part, but if you think about it, there are parts of life you seem to go through, and it seems to be nothing but illness and people dying. Then you go through other aspects of life, and it seems to be nothing but people getting married and children being born. Well, this is something that we've been discussing, obviously, privately for long enough. And it's always a question of timing when it comes to Alison to get her on. And when I told her that you were coming on, when you came on, obviously, um, she was very impressed and is looking forward to being on the same live stream. I'm hoping at some point to get a hold of Joni Rotten. I haven't heard this one. This is a new one on me. Major sausage. Trump is going to give every foreign college student a green card and they graduate. Well, I got your one of them. If you've sent another one, I've certainly got one of them. I'll just have a quick nosy. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Where are we? Ah, there it is. Yeah, I got that one, Scott's armor. It's one with the quotes from Psalms and Matthew. Yeah, I got that. I read that earlier, but I haven't read it properly. I need to read it again. I had visitors earlier, so I didn't get to read it thoroughly to my satisfaction. So I will read it again. Treble M. John, you told us about your neighbour's son. So sad to hear that he has passed. Poor parents, especially as they are getting older. Yeah, they're both retired. No, I understand, Scott. You're very understanding. Now, all the plans they had. I mean, I'm sure they'll resolve some of it, but they, especially his dad, he's one of these men who were in a job where he was able um, to work extra hours, make sizable lumps of money, and invest it in insurance policies and all this sort of stuff for retirement, for the future. And when they arrived here, that was their plans to go on these big cruises, to visit the Great Wall of China and things of that nature. And none of it happened. None of it happened. Suddenly he had a heart problem. He's now got a pacemaker fitted. And then, of course, he, like everyone else, would get caught in the lockdowns. So that put paid to all of that. Oh, there's Ludwig. Good evening, Ludwig. And he has spent a fair bit of money here. Around the back of the house. BBC is telling us the US Surgeon General declares gun violence a public health crisis, recommends, wait for it, this won't be a surprise, universal background checks, red flag laws, and assault weapon bans. They're going after the guns in USA, just as Hunter Biden is found guilty on gun charges, says BBC in their second comment. You see, they can't quite crush the American people until they get those guns out of their hands. And that's why it's so important in my mind now for us to get guns into our hands. When I was a young man, I was against the idea of ordinary people having guns. But as I grew older and began to know a wee bit more about the world, I came to see that we really need to have guns in our possessions. Because how do we defend ourselves? Not everybody can be a black belt. And even if you are, how much will that actually help defend you? Just well, I can understand that, Treble M, knowing a little as I do about your life, things that you have shared with me. Well, that's all thanks to my neighbour, PVC. I haven't done nothing. I haven't even contributed any cash because I don't have that kind of cash to spare. But this man has, and Lord Almighty, he doesn't have anything now to spend it on. That's it, Steve. That's exactly it in a nutshell. Communists are coming for the guns. Absolutely. Yeah, sometimes you learn too late, Steve. Worst thing I did was cut up my dad's shotguns. I was seriously looking at crossbows. Well, that's the way I used to be, BBC. I used to be against that, guns. But I was a young idealist when I thought those things. But as I learned a bit more, not just about politics, about the way the world works and how it doesn't work, I began to realize that we really need to be able to defend ourselves. And the government of the day had never any right to take, as it would be back then, swords and daggers. It would be mainly those things take away from people. There'd be a few guns, of course, but I'm supposing that the cost would be outside most people's ability to buy one. But most folk carried daggers and swords for protection. And we need protection. Twelve-foot hedge. Jeez, oh. So I want to remind you yet again, on top of the good news that we've got, I will not be live streaming on Friday evening, folks. Okay? However, next Tuesday, we will have two guests, two female guests, which will be really exciting for this channel because I've never had two ladies on at the one time to talk and give us a female point of view on the kind of things that Alison works with and is so important, that should go on everywhere and doesn't. Oh, and the other thing that I need to talk about as well is, let me get the reference for it. Tuesday, was it Tuesday? Friday. No. I notice that when you look for something, you can't find it. Let's find that slightly, somewhat annoying. Yeah, here it is. Rushford's 5123. This is someone that came from your channel, William. I was talking about the last Jacobites. And is that I'm being asked to check them out at 8 o'clock. But I don't have access to, well, I don't use, what do you call it? What do you call them? I didn't know there was a difference, Steve, to be honest. I didn't know that either. I need advice about these things. So there you go. Glasgow Green, Saturday, 1 o'clock at Nelson statue. Seem to have lost a few folk here. We seem to have lost a few folk. Well, you see, the thing is, it was suggested to me that I should be in touch with these folk. But I don't use the same platforms that they use. Oh, hello, Packer. I hope you're doing all right, my friend. We well since we saw you in these parts. So the idea was, and perhaps you might be kind enough to help out here, PVC, is to get this Alex Pierce to come on to the chat some night to make contact. Apparently they are doing some meet. They're going to meet up. And it was suggested to me that it could be useful for both groups to get to know each other. And I don't see any harm in that idea. Well, that'd be great if you could do that. I mean, I've never heard of them at all. So, and I'm willing to talk and meet with other folk. We need to we need to collectivize. I've been saying it for years, and we all know it to be true. So I hope you're okay, Packer. It's been a wee while since you were around these parts. I hope your boy's okay, and your cat and your wife. So don't break your neck over it, BBC. But if you can get a message to them, see if they're interested in contacting me. That would be a really good job. Well, it's good to know that you're okay, Packer. You know what I'm like when people just sort of drop out, you know? I get a bit concerned about these things. Anyway, so I hope you don't mind, folks, but I'm going to finish a bit early tonight because I'm tired. It's, as you all know, these things just suck the energy out of you. I don't know where Streaky is, Treble M. I was beginning to worry about Toffee until he turned up tonight. But the truth of the matter is, if you want the real hard-knuckled truth, folks, is that my viewing figures are going down all the time. You could do that. Yeah, that would be helpful. BBC, you could pass on my email and say, trying to get in touch, you know. As I say, it's because I'd been talking about getting together again, you know, the idea of us getting together in the real world. And so it came up that that might be useful. These people were meeting up. They had organised something in Scotland, not far from here, apparently, Loch Fyne, thereabouts. And it might be useful to go along. But as you well know, better than I, yeah, it is very draining. It is. Um, to get around Scotland, you really need your own transport, and you all know that's something I don't have. But I don't want to give up on if there are other people out there that I should know about as the head of the party, and we should know about, and they should know about us. We should all be aware of each other, and we should all be acting as one group. Otherwise, we will never become effective. And I think without each of us trying to be effective, then we're losing out. We need everyone to do their best to be effective. Well, that's very kind of you, Treble M. I know you've said this before, but thank you again. Thank you for all you do for the channel. You're the best YouTuber. Thank you. We need to fundraise a Harley Davidson for you, John. Get around in style. Yeah, one of those trikes. Brilliant. Brilliant things. The old HD's, it's quite a motorcycle. Brilliant. Yeah, a trike. That's it. Absolutely. So look, folks, if you don't mind, I'm going to just go off early tonight. I've got Wednesday and Thursday to get through yet. So, so as I say, as I like to say, adios, au revoir, cheerio, and until a week tonight when we will have two special guests, two lady guests, PBC and Alison. Will be really good. And you take care, folks, and I'll speak to you all soon. And thanks all of you for your kind thoughts and condolences and messages. I appreciate it all. And thanks very much for all of you coming here. So enjoy the music, and we'll
Silently the snow falls, paints a winter scene, swiftly spreads the dark rim, hides a fading autumn green. Moonbeams brush the dark wood, conjure friendships dear to me. Lightly now the breeze flows, disturbing more than just the leaves.
Thank you, PBC.
But life's much more.
Appreciate that.
Than we can know. We are one small glow in the eternal flow. Patiently the love grows, lifts the weary heart. Gently now she holds me, melts two worlds once apart. Moonbeams brush the dark wood, usher dreams of you and me. Softly then the breeze blows, disturbing more than just the trees.
All together now.
But love's much more.
So much more.
than we can
than we
know.
can ever possibly know,
We are one small glow
but an important glow.
in the eternal flow. Melodies of long ago, songs of innocence, harmonies to soothe the soul, past of consequence. Moonbeams brush the dark wood, awakening joys of you and me. Silently the snow falls, bringing winter symphony.
All together now,
But we're much more
so much more
than we can know.
than we can ever possibly know,
We are one small glow
but an important glow
in the eternal flow. But life's much more than we can know. We are one small glow in the eternal flow.
So, folks, thanks again for being here. I appreciate that. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I will see you very soon. Goodbye just now. It certainly will, Treble M. It will be something very different to this channel. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, where is Wolfie? I haven't seen him about either. Oh, there's Wolfie there, huh? Oh, gosh. Good evening, Wolfie. Don't worry about it. Just when you don't show, this old man here gets a bit anxious about it. But so long as I know you're okay, that's the main thing. And you're okay. So anyway, evening to you too, Wolfie. With a bit of good fortune and God's grace, I shall return on Tuesday. Bye just now, folks. Take care.